everybody, Mountain Grandma here. My name's Tammy and welcome to Mountain Grandma's house. Today, it's all about this guy. Today, I'm going to be canning with this pressure canner for the first time. In full transparency, I have had this canner since September of 2023. But I've been sitting on the fence about using this. I water bath can when I can. And so I'm finally getting off the fence and I'm going to share with you a beginner's view of using this pressure canner for the very first time. I'm going to go through everything, what I did when I took it out of the box, what I had to clean before I used it, and the whole canning process that I learned from watching other great canners. And this is part of the Plan to Can collaboration that's being hosted by Jeni over at Jeni's Scratch Made Kitchen. There's going to be a lot of great canning videos here and in this collaboration, and there's also going to be a giveaway, so check out the description box down below for that information. And I hope this motivates anyone else who's had a canner sitting on the shelf for over a year to pull it out, dust it off. You should have seen the dust on this guy. It was pitiful. Dust it off and use it for the first time. And today I'm going to be making bone broth, and we're going to can it right here in this big guy. This is a 23-quart Presto, and I'm using an Instant Pot to make the broth. So let's go ahead and get started. Now for this bone broth, I've got the carcass of one chicken, about 2 celery sticks, 1 medium-sized onion, and about a half a bag of those little carrots that you see there. I also added in here a tablespoon of vinegar to help extract all of the nutrition and help break down those bones, and then also a teaspoon of turmeric. I usually use more herbs than that, but since this is my first time canning this, I didn't want to put too much stuff in it. I'm going to put this in the Instant Pot. I'm hitting the super broth button, and then I'm going to set the timer up to about 2 hours and the pressure down to low. I repeated that process twice to make sure I had good strong bone broth. All right, so I have the 23-quart Presto, and just to familiarize anybody who doesn't know with the top of this device and what all is on here, you can see the vent pipe sticking up over there on the right. You've got your gauge there in the middle, and right here in the front is an air vent cover lock. And then back here in the back is an overflow pressure plug. So you don't have to worry about a canner blowing up if that's what has you on the fence. You don't have to worry about that because that pressure plug will blow out of there and then release all the pressure that prevents any kind of like explosion or anything. So that's all the parts to this. As far as putting it together, gosh, I can't remember. I think I had to put this guy on there. Let me turn this upside down and show you what it looks like underneath the lid. So you can see there's like a bolt here that had to, with a screw that had to be screwed down. You do want to make sure that this end is connected tightly to the rod that reaches to the top of it on the other side. Sorry about the camera. And then also your vent pipe right here. You want to make sure that that's good. And this is really easy. If I remember, I just kind of pushed that in there and it went into place. Now, one of the first things you have to do when you get this is remove this from the canner, and you're supposed to wash it off. So I did that already, washed it in warm water, and then put it back on there. It's very easy to install, and it doesn't look like there's a difference from the top to the bottom. So just saying, I don't think you have to worry about not having it on right. And what I've heard is it's good to buy extras. I don't have an extra, so I guess I'll need to get one of those. Now this canner also came with this guy right here. And I've washed the whole thing in warm soapy water. So the entire canner has been cleaned in warm soapy water. All right, now here I actually have my big water bath canner that I use full of soapy water because I need to wash my jars and lids And then I'm gonna need to boil my jars in hot water for 10 minutes. And I was gonna do that in here. Now, I don't know, and I couldn't really tell if other people were using their pressure canner. I saw one person set the jars once they were boiled, I guess. They set the jars in the pressure canner, but did they boil them in the pressure canner? Whoops, you see my wash rag in there. Did they boil them in the pressure canner? Because I'm kind of wondering, like, should I be doing that? And it just seems complicated. So I don't know how other people are doing this. Feel free to share down in the description box below. It seems like this is a piece that a lot of people leave out, and I'm, you know, making a big deal out of it, I guess. So anyways, let's go ahead and do this. Now, all these jars are brand new, and I saw on the Presto video that you shouldn't have to boil these lids, and that if you do, it could even mess up the little rubber coating. So I don't know what anybody's going to say about that, but that was on a Presto video that I saw, but I wanted to share. Do you see this? Like, I'm not going to use this. I'm not going to use this lid. I'm going to get another, but it was brand new. Isn't that messed up? So I'm going to go, I do have a box of lids. I'm going to go get another lid to replace this guy because he looks messed up already. Do you see that? All right, now here I've got those 3 jars that are ready to be sterilized by boiling them in water. And I don't know if you need to do this, but I know I do it for water bath canning. So that's what I'm doing. They're like half filled with water. I got vinegar in there to help prevent the hard water from leaving stains on them. But I'm going to go ahead and put these to boiling for 10 minutes while I take care of other things. Another thing you're supposed to check is that vent to make sure that you can see through it. This gauge right here is super sensitive. So if you do go to like clean this lid or anything, you do not want to get that gauge submerged in water. You want to clean around it because it'll mess your gauge up. All right, so I've strained off the broth. I added in about 3/4 of a tablespoon of salt, and I'm letting this get to a boil. I've got my jars already sanitized in the big black pot behind this one that you see. And then I've also got 3 liters of water added into my pressure canner, and I've got that water hot as well. So hot broth going in hot jars, going into hot water in the pressure canner. That's how you want that to work. All right, so now I'm getting those hot jars and I'm putting that hot broth in them. And I did not record it, but you need to make sure you get a vinegar paper towel, and you want to wipe off that top rim before you put your lid on there to make sure you're getting a good seal. And then finger tight on the ring. You want to make sure you tighten that finger tight. All right, so you can see I only have 1 jar of broth, and I got this one. Now my choices are I could move this to a pint, but that's going to be a problem because the pint jars aren't ready to go. So I'm just going to call it a learning experience here. And I'll be canning 1 quart jar of broth today. And I'm also going to add to that 2 quarts of water, just so my canner's balanced. I don't know if that's a thing. Feels like it's a thing. So that's what I'm going to do. All right, here we are. I've got the 1 quart of broth, 2 quarts of water, just so it's balanced, I guess. Now I'm going to go ahead and put the lid on this and get this to heating. All right, I got this heating up. It was a little tricky. I had to make sure I had hot water in hot jars to go in here with the hot broth. But I'm heating this up and I'm waiting for this guy to start putting off steam. This is your vent pipe. And when it does start putting off steam, I've got to let it do that for 10 minutes. That's because you want all of the air that's in the canner out of the canner, so that it only has the pressurized, newly created steam in there or something like that. So anyhow, we're waiting for this guy to start steaming up. And I'll be back with you when we see that. Now, a steady flow of steam needs to be seen, heard, or felt from that guy. It's there. Okay, now I gotta set my timer. We're gonna wait 10 minutes and then we will put the regulator on it. Can you all see the steam? This little guy's sputtering. But we got 8 more minutes of this steady steam that you can barely see. If you can see it kind of right up here. So we've got 8 more minutes before I put the regulator on. One worry that I have is that it was steaming and I didn't see it before, but I was only waiting for, oh gosh, it was probably within 5 minutes that we saw this, so hopefully I'm not too far off. We'll see. I am at 3 minutes, almost 2 minutes before I put the regulator on this guy, the vent pipe. But what has happened is my air vent cover lock popped up, so he popped up too, which makes me wonder, did I not see steam coming out of here sooner? Interested to hear if anybody else has had this happen down in the comments. All right, the time was up, so I put the regulator on. Now we need that pressure gauge to get up to 11 psi according to my location. All right, we are at 11, so I'm going to turn my heat down some and I'm going to start my timer. All right, I turned my heat down a little bit. As you can see, I'm going above 12. This is where I'm getting a little nervous. So, see, I turned the burner off because I got worried. This is going to be the tricky part. And I'm at 23 minutes. I know it's okay if it goes above, but it's not okay if it goes below. All right, I've got 16 minutes to go, and as you can see, I'm still above 11. I'm like 12 and a half. Hoping that's okay. 14 minutes, and you can see I'm at just below 12. All right, with 8 minutes to go, you can see we're right above the 11. All right, so there we are, right at 11. I've had it on low. I'm gonna go ahead and turn the heat off. All right, according to the Presto book, I can either move this or let it set. I'm gonna try to move it off of this hot burner so that it can cool down naturally. All right, you can see we're at 0. This guy has gone down. You can see back here, that guy has gone down. And this went to 0 first. I had to wait a little while for that one to go to 0. So now I need to take off my pressure regulator. All right, and now I need to let this sit for 10 more minutes before I try to take the lid off. All right, so we're at that 10 minutes, and you can see I've got the lid kind of askew just to let that cool off a little bit more and a little slower before I take the lid off completely. I'm gonna let it do this for like 5 minutes. I'm just being extra careful. All right, it's been 10 minutes. So yay, I didn't break any jars. That's wonderful news. I've got to let this sit in here for another 10 minutes before I pull out the jars, just so that they don't cool off too quickly and break. And yay, nothing cracked. One thing to note, you got to lift straight up. And here it is. It's bubbling a little bit. I'm told that's a normal thing. And I resisted the urge to wipe this off. I'll have to do it after 24 hours because you don't want to touch it till then. You don't want to touch it. And then I'll show you what it looks like once it's cleaned off. And yay, I did get a good seal. Thank you all so much for watching my video and my experience on pressure canning for the first time. If you have comments or tips, please feel free to share those down below. I'd be interested to hear from you. And until I see you next time, everyone, keep your joy, folks.